let's see if I can get this all in one take. So, this is, I don't usually make tutorials, but the ones that I've seen on this aren't, they're usually very outdated and don't do it like I feel the devs intended. This is personally my way. You can not do it if you want, obviously. So, this is for animating the ears and tail. The proper way to me. And that's using the gesture layer. If you don't, first of all, your avatar is going to need a gesture layer. I mean, obviously, it uses the gesture layer because the gesture layer is made for non-humanoid bones. Anyways, with that out of the way, we need our animations. So this is specifically for tying it to hand gestures. So for this example, we're going to be doing it so that making a fist in the right hand raises the ears up, and then I'll cover tail animations later. So first, we need to actually make the animation. So first, I'm going to name this something. So ear fist. So we're gonna obviously go down to the armature. We're gonna grab wherever our ear bones are. What I like to do, I like to go into orthographic by clicking this cube, and then just go into the front view, and then zooming in. Once you double click it, make sure to double click it for the automatic distance render thing. Anyways, make sure your recording is on, and then we're just going to raise up the ear. Ignore this mess over here. This is for a different outfit that's hidden inside the ear, but it'll just ignore it for now. It's a internal thing. So we're just gonna raise the ear. And then if you want, you can absolutely just, curve it up a little. And there you go. Now what I like to do, I like to delete the position recording from this because it's not really changing the position at all. And then we are going to, this is a little trick I learned. So you can see that we recorded all 3 bones in the ear. I have 3 bones in my ear. And we want to basically copy the rotation of it. So first of all, we gotta add the states for it first. So I'm just slightly move the ear, all the animations for the ear, and then I'm going to delete the position rotations, so it's a little easier to see. I'm going to open up the thing here for both sides of the ear, and I'm just going to take the top ear left. I'm just going to copy it over. From what I found is that the X value, this may be different for your models, but the X value for me is always the same, while Y and Z are flipped polarities or whatever the crap. So you can see here that this is negative 69. This would be positive 69. This is 158. This would be negative 158. There you go. You have it mirrored across the thing. Now do this for each. Takes a little bit, so I may cut this out. Now, all right. So now this is on. Now I'm working with 1 frame here, just for simplicity's sake. You could absolutely add like little ear twitch animations. I'm gonna make 2 animations. I'm going to make 2 animations for. Let me go ahead and undo the preview. I should probably duplicate the model so I don't break things. By the way, it seems like I made a mistake. I accidentally added the animation to the main avatar. Real quick fix for that, just you find the animation controller of the avatar's name, you just delete it, and the animation's no longer linked to it. But you still have the animation, obviously. Anyways, I'm gonna make an idle animation because the idle is a very important part to it because you gotta do something really weird and specific for it to mirror on, for it to be working on both hands. So I'm gonna make the idle. Now, if this is mainly dependent on right defaults, whether you have it on or off. If you have it off, you'll need to specify the location of the bones. So I'm just gonna name this ear idle. So, hit record, and then what I'm going to do, real quick, and this is so you just get really specific locations of the bones, especially if you have right defaults off. If you have it on, you don't really need to do this, but I suggest having it off because the more complicated your avatar is, the more you really need it off so that right defaults on doesn't mess with it. So again, double click, you can zoom in very close. And I'm just going to go to the rotation values here, just delete and then add that value back in. And the same thing for the other side. And I'll just do it for each ear. So then, it's mirrored on both sides. And we have an idle. So this is the point where you would make one animations for every single hand gesture if you want, or the ones that you want. So for fist, stuff like for fist, hand open, stuff like that. Which I'm going to do that, and I'm going to pause the recording and get back to you on that. So I've made the animations here, and it's mainly for most gestures, I'm pretty sure. I probably missed, I'm pretty sure I missed rock and roll, which I'll have to add later, but it's fine, I got the animations now. One thing to note is that for the peace sign or the victory hand gesture, I made a left and right animation because the right hand will raise the right ear, the left hand will raise the left ear, and that requires a little bit of setup. But it's mainly to show you that you can do this. You can have different animations for both hands as well. So we're gonna head to our gesture layer. Now, the cool thing about this is that first, it's set up in the exact same way as your gesture, as the gesture layer for your hands. So these animations, this is literally the base VRC gesture layer thing that you can get as the example. And we're just gonna be modifying that. So like go into the VRC thing wherever it is. I can't exactly remember wherever they put it because they changed it a long time ago. Is it in here? Controllers. Yeah, it's in here. So I think it's like VRC V3 hands layer 1 and 2. I think it's just the difference is one's an idle or different idle animation. My gesture layer is not really anything different. I just replaced the animations for some custom ones so that the fingers move. If you don't know, the gesture layer is mainly for bones that are non-humanoid. And it also houses the hands layer. Speaking of non-humanoid bones, that's your ears. So first of all, because it's set up the exact same way after my rambling, we're just going to select everything here, copy, and we're going to make a new layer. We're going to name this ear right. Or, no, ear and right. Name it whatever you want, just make sure you put an ear, so. And we're just going to paste it. And we're going to bring this in. A couple things to note. If it does this thing where it doesn't really go to the idle anymore, just click on the idle, set as layer default state. Also, the any state is a little special thing. I should probably explain what this is. It does a couple things, but the main thing to me is that it allows you to interrupt animations to go to another animation. So you don't have to wait for idle to play out fully to go to fist. You can just immediately go from idle halfway through to into fist, and it allows you to, go do the fist gesture whenever you want to. Well, as you notice here, the gesture layer works on layer masks, or was it avatar masks? We're going to need to make a mask for them. So this isn't anything too difficult. It's a little odd, but then we go to, first of all, you gotta make the mask. I don't know where it is. Avatar mask. It's down here. So first, let's name this ear mask. And it's a relatively simple process. First of all, do these two things, and then use skeleton from, and then select your avatar, or the name of your avatar over here. And then import skeleton, and it'll do everything. So I'm going to expand all, so it shows all the bones. I'm just going to toggle them all off. And then I'm going to deselect everything here. we're going to go down to wherever the ear bones are. So you can see here, they're in the hair root thing I made. And we're just going to select them all. And that's the thing, you just now made the mask. So we're going to go to gesture layer, avatar mask, and add the mask. So this will basically just filter out everything, all the bone animations that aren't the ears, and it just won't do them. So then we have this. I'm going to, yeah, okay. So first of all, let's plug in our animations. For the ear right, we're just going to, wherever it is, or ear fist, just going to do this. I'll name it appropriately. Alright, so I renamed all of them. While I'm talking, I'm gonna plug in the animations. So, a couple things to know. I have right defaults off. You do not need right defaults off, but the more complicated your avatar is, the more you probably should consider right defaults off. I will add a video in the description. I can't remember their name right now, but they did a good job at explaining how to set your avatar up for right defaults, because the main thing is that your face kind of breaks when you turn it off. So first of all, if you want your ears to twitch and all that, go ahead during the ear idle animation, just go ahead and make them do that. You can make it really as long as you want, I'm pretty sure. Just make sure it loops seamlessly. So then we have this. And the good thing about copying it is that they're all... So I just realized that this is for the right hand. I named it the right hand. Also notice here that we're going to be doing this for both hands. Since it's the right hand, I put in the right hand animation for the peace sign. Now these transitions use the gesture left parameter. We need the gesture right, so I'm just going to select them. And then for some reason, whenever you change it, it sets this not into equal and into greater for some reason, so you gotta set that back as well. So give me a second. This is a bit, I'll show you how to test it in Unity later, because there's a lot of room for just human error. So now we have the right hand animations. So we need to make the left hand animations. Well, we got everything here. Just gonna copy it, make a new layer, ear and left. Add the mask, paste. And it actually did set the default thing to the idle, okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and change this to left. Before we do anything, one thing to note. There is a weird glitch. I think this has to do with priorities and how two animations can conflict with each other. For my testing, this was mainly with the tails. I don't know about the ears, but setting it up like this would mean that, like, I'm pretty sure only the left hand would actually animate the ears and the right hand just wouldn't do anything. If you want that, that's fine. But if you want both hands to animate the ears, then you need to set it up. Then you need to do a little simple thing where you just take this animation, you press delete, and you remove it. And that's it. That should fix it. However, if you have right defaults off, you can't really leave an empty animation. It's just kind of bad and can add some messy uppy things. So you'll need to make a empty animation that isn't technically empty. So I'm just going to do this real quick since it'll be quick and easy. So I'm just going to name this empty. Hit record, and we're just going to make this some random value. It doesn't really matter what this is. We just need a state there. So game object active, it doesn't really matter. What we're going to do is we're going to double click. Now this is extremely finicky. I've always found it very finicky. There we go. So you can see here it's looking for the body mesh. We're just going to name that to something like underscore invalid. So that it turns yellow. If it turns yellow, then you did this right. We just need something that isn't on the model at all. Some name. So we're just going to go back. And this is mainly specifically for right defaults. That's my FX layer. Ignore that. But this is mainly for right defaults off. If you have it on, you don't really need to do this, but I suggest having the right defaults off the more complicated your avatar is. We're just going to find our empty animation in my mess of a assets folder, and we're just going to put this in. Because you may think, oh, well, what if it wants to idle? Well, it's just priorities. Usually there's always going to be an animation playing, and if both hands are idle, it's going to be playing this for the left hand, or the right hand. It should be fine from my testing. Now let's say you want to test it, but you don't want to go into Vrchat and find that it broke completely and you gotta redo things. So first of all, we're going to go into play mode. And then this controller thing, we're going to take our gesture layer and put this in here. You can use like gesture manager or AV3 emulator or something. I haven't experimented with those, so I'm not going to use it, but I found this works pretty well. So I'm just going to temporarily do is take this animator tab and bring this over by the inspector, because we need to mess with the parameters. So I'm going into the gesture layer and looking at the parameters. You can see all these things. We can just edit the values. So one is fist. You can see that. You can see that it's not doing anything. Gosh, dang it. This allows you to debug things, like see why the crap is it not doing anything. Right. I forgot to set the thing. I'll do that later. Give me a second. But for now, you can see here on the right hand that I actually set up fully that it moves the ears completely, along with the hands. So this would be, I didn't set anything for the rock animation. This would be for, you know, and I find that having the ears move around adds a lot more life to the avatar. It makes them feel a lot more alive, and that comes especially apparent to the tail wag, which we will get into in a bit. Let me fix this, and I'm gonna keep this in because I don't want you guys to mess something up, and I'll be at fault for it. So I'm sorry, I forgot to set the thing. Right here it says gesture right, or in the left hand layer of the gesture animations. It says gesture right. We're going to set this to gesture left and then set it to equals, and we're going to do that for each one because I kind of forgot to do that. Just going to set each one so that it'll work on the thing, hopefully. Okay, I'm going to go back in play mode to test this out again. So just take this, drag the gesture layer into the animation controller so it falls into this pose. I'm going to drag this over here. You can see this also animates the thing. And you can see here that with the peace sign, it raises the right ear with the right hand. It'll do the same for the left hand as well. So you can have custom right. Why is it doing that? Yeah, that's a little weird. So this is my method of making the ears animate. So I'm going to take a small break, and I'm gonna cut the video, and we'll get to tail animations because those are slightly different, but it's generally the same thing. All right, so let's get the tail animations up and running and all that. Before I do this, I very much suggest having physics on the ears and the tail because it smooths out the animations. I don't know how well that works with Quest. I know Quest can have a couple Fizzbone components. I suggest making a hair root so you can have more physics per Fizzbone component and all that. So, anyways, to make the tail wag, we need to make the tail animation. So we're going to make the idle animation. So it's remarkably similar to the ear to the ears we just did. But this is different because it's relying on constant animation. So we're just going to name this tail wag. Tail wag animations aren't really the hardest thing to make. I just realized I did this on the main model. God. So my character has very, very long hair, so I'm temporarily just going to take the bone and just flip it upwards so I can see the tail. We're going to go to the tailbone, hit record, and at the first state, let's make this go left. That's not left. By the way, if you control Z and it's stuck in that same thing, hit preview and it resets it. So we're just going to do this. It's going to be a somewhat calm thing. Maybe. I don't know. It didn't record that. I'm going to cry. Okay. Again, rotate it left slightly. I'm going to rotate it in. Just get like a basic kind of slightly moving. And if you want to, you can curve it a little. So I'm just going to go through and have it swing a little bit in the actual animation. That should add some nice little physics with the fizz bones itself. So first of all, I'm gonna delete the position of all this since we're just dealing with rotation to make things a little simpler. And I'm just going to take this keyframe, copy it, and let's paste it around the 2-second mark. It's gonna be pretty fast. And later we'll extend it out to what feels better. So now we gotta make it go back. I don't really have a good way of... You can use the method of just like putting in negative and positive values to mirror it across, but I don't really want to do that right now, I'll be honest. So I'm just gonna actually shift it across and just animate it since if it's uneven, it adds a little bit of realism, I guess, to it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna be honest here. So we're just going to move this in, using each bone of the tail, really. I didn't use each bone of the tail, did I? Nope, there's a last little bit here. I'm just going to do this. So you can see... Let me animate the last bone over here, just for evenness. And I'll copy it over here. Yeah, it's very procedural. It's not the hardest thing to animate. We can see here that it wags. Now I'd like it to be a little quicker than that. So I'm just gonna move the middle state down a little bit and move this down a little bit. And you obviously want the right side wag to be in the middle than the rest. Unless you don't. This is all very up to your own interpretation. I might speed that up a little more. There seems good. And then... After a little bit of finicking around with it, I think this is a good speed for like an idle animation. So we're going to do that before I forget. I'm going to delete the position and the hair rotation things. Position. So then, this is the final product. It's a nice little tail wag. You can actually look through the front to see how far the tail goes. It's a little shorter on the left side. Meh, it's fine. Also, I just realized this is the main model, so I'm gonna have to do the little trick where let me just delete the animation controller over here. Is it unlinked? Yeah, okay. So I know I just named it the tail wag. I'm gonna name this tail idle to keep it consistent. So the cool thing with this is that while a lot of other avatars do have a tail wag animation, they don't have it react to face expressions. So if you have a happy face, it doesn't go faster. We can do that with this method. So, for example, I'm going to do open face. Open face for me is, or open, when I say open face, I mean open hand face. The open hand face for me is a happy face. And because it's happy, I want to make the tail wag faster because it's silly. So I'm gonna make the animation. Well, why would I make the animation? I can just save time. I can just save time. So instead of, making an entirely new animation, I'm just going to duplicate it, name this tail open, and then I'll just throw it onto the duplicate. You can see how it does this. I'm just going to shorten this. Just to save a bit of time. Maybe a little faster. Maybe put the animation more in the middle. I think what I'll also do really quick is on these states, I'll just rotate the second bone of the tail a little more to show more physics, I guess. I highly suggest testing it as you go along, because if it's not seamless, it's gonna look a little weird if it jerks like randomly. So I'm going to animate the rest of the tailbones. I have different things, like for a surprise face, the tail goes like completely straight, like you just got scared. A bunch of things. So I will work on that, and I'll pause the recording, and I will get back to you. So I made all the tail animations, and so we're gonna do the logic behind them. Yay! Yippee. Oh wait, give me a second. Cut this out. So did all the tail animations, and so we're going to go to our avatar's gesture layer, and as you might have guessed, just like the hands, we're going to make tail left and right hand animation layer. So first, tail and so we need to make another mask. So as last time, create avatar mask. I'm gonna name this tail mask. Then of course we're just gonna disable everything. There we go. And then we're going to import the skeleton. I'm gonna expand it all and then toggle all of it and then toggle only the tail bones. And then we made the mask. So we'll go to the gesture, and then add the mask, of course. Let me move this over here. So, because we've already set this up, we can just copy, paste. Oh yeah, and don't forget to turn on the weight. So, I'm gonna rename all these. So I'm gonna name this tail idle. And I'm gonna name this tail fist. Now keep in mind, if you wanted to, you can just like the ears, you can have separate animations for each hand. It doesn't mean you add more file size to your avatar though, because it's obviously more animations. Tail piece. Rock. Tail gun. And then tail. So we got all of this, but these use the wrong animations, so we're just gonna have to plug the right ones in. So we're gonna look for tail idle. And then, of course, just plugging the right ones in. So, one thing to note about this one, uh, my right fist raises the ears, but I don't want the tail to look angry when the ears are just up and it's a normal face. So what I'm just gonna do is unplug this and then replace it with my empty animation so that nothing really plays during this. Because then it just relies on the left hand to do the animations for the tail. And whatever the left hand is, which is usually just idle. Uh, we're gonna go to tail open, then tail point, which I did not make. We're going to tail victory, tail rock, tail gun, which is the scared one, and then tail thumb, which is actually pretty funny fun. I'll show you all afterwards. And again, because we set it up this way, or just duplicated it, we don't have to set all the transition conditions because they're all set up for us. Then we can take, now for the left hand of the tail, we can just take this, copy it, and then of course make layer, so tail, hand, left, add the thing, add the mask, paste it, and then realize that it decided to do the fist, or it decided to make the default state the fist. And then gesture, gesture, gesture. Yeah. Okay, so everything's good. And we're going to be doing the same thing. So tail, idle. Then, of course, we need to put in the idle animations. But because of the weird glitch where you can't have two idle animations, the same thing, we're going to make the left hand. Well, because I put the fist down, I'll probably make the right hand have an empty animation, yeah. I don't think it matters too much, though. So I'm going to make the left hand not have a, or the right hand tail animations not have a idle animation. This doesn't have an idle animation. So let me plug this in wherever I put my tail idle. There we go. So tail fist. Didn't do the, okay. Just making sure because I'd love to get this first try. Point, tail, piece, tail rock, tail gun, and tail thumb. So now, I think we can test this. So, of course, we go into play mode. So after some testing, I figured it out. And you can do this for the ears as well. I completely forgot that animations that are not just a pose in one frame will not play if you have gesture left weight or gesture right weight enabled. Gesture left weight and right weight, from what I remember, is mainly for how much you push down the trigger in the controller, if I remember correctly. Probably could be for something else. Main thing is, it's interrupting the animation, so if I disable it, that's the empty animation. If I disable it from this one, you can see it finally starts to play the animation, which, oh man, am I happy about. So just going through and just disabling this motion time parameter in both hands, because you don't need it unless you're doing some funky stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it for the ears. So I'm just going to disable it. And it's now that I realize that the ear animation won't like twitch if you do that. Like if you do a twitching ear animation, it won't play fully. If you do not remove gesture left and right weight. I probably should have done that before. I will probably put a disclaimer to remove it so you don't have to see me mess up. So now, because of this, you can see the tail move. So that's about it. Just testing it. Make sure to test it. I hope this helped. This is just my method. You don't have to do this. I wish I could say that I'll try and help the problems you'll probably have, but I can't because will most likely not. I will most likely not look at YouTube comments. I'm sorry. It's not something I enjoy. Just answering questions in YouTube comments is very hard without screenshots and all that. And I don't really have a Discord server or anything to really do that with and help. So, I hope this helps. Make your avatar very expressive, and have fun.